It's been an interesting year for Starfield. From a rocky start to multiple updates, Bethesda has been listening to what the players are requesting and slowly adding what they can to the base game, like the Rev 8 and the detailed maps. This year is culminating in the first full DLC for the game, Shattered Space. Many players, like myself, have opted for the premium edition of the game, which includes the DLC that we've all been waiting on. But what is Shattered Space and what will we do? Bethesda hasn't shown much apart from some details in interviews, an appearance at Gamescom, and one trailer, so let's take a look at what we know before its release on September 30th. Shattered Space will focus on the House Va'ruun, a faction in Starfield that worships the Great Serpent. There's some lore about the Va'ruun in Starfield, but much more is left to be desired, so this DLC will expand upon this crazy cult, for lack of a better description. The story starts with the distress signal from a derelict station which leads you to the planet Va'ruun Kai. The events take place within the city of Dazra, where most of the DLC will take place. Bethesda decided to focus on one area as opposed to an entire system or planet based on player feedback, something I can definitely say I'm ready to see in a game. The story starts 2 weeks after a cataclysmic event on Va'ruun Kai. Experiments by its residents results in some event that caused gravitational vortexes, portals to other dimensions, more on that later, and political strife amongst its leaders. Not many details have been revealed about the story, similar to the main story before the game's initial release, but there seems to be some sort of focus on player choices when dealing with solving these problems. If it isn't apparent from the trailer, Shattered Space will have a dark horror feel to it, very similar to what Far Harbor did for Fallout 4. Trust me, you'll hear this comparison a lot. Bethesda has taken a very focused approach to this DLC. The events and points of interest will take place around Dazra. I haven't seen any specifications as to how big the area is, but there won't be any fast traveling across systems to get to your destination. Although it's still speculation, it seems as though many people think it will take place in one cell of the game. So, about the area you can explore on the planet after landing, which is still a huge amount of space to explore. Details on the rest of Va'ruun Kai and his system seemingly don't exist at this time, but at least we know that it should feel more like a traditional Bethesda DLC. Another good thing to note is that this isn't some separate part of the game. Players can jump in and out of the system to play the base game or vice versa at any time. However, this area will feel completely different, as there are plenty of new assets created to make this area feel unique. Overall, there will be 50 locations to discover in Dazra, so once again, this is very similar to Far Harbor. Enough about the location. What can we expect to do with Shattered Space, and will it feel different? The short answer is yes. Apart from the new locations, there will be new weapons, items, and enemies. Bethesda has recently tweeted about this. There will be craftable grenades that stem from organic material gathered in this new world. The recent experiments lead to portals allowing new enemies to travel from different dimensions, those being the Redeemed and the Vortex Horrors. These enemies will have a focus on up-close and personal combat and have the option to ambush the players, so the new weapons and items will have a focus on this fast-paced combat. Another side effect of these experiments are vortexes, or pockets of zero gravity along the planet. I personally look forward to what seems to be more options of zero gravity combat, as it was probably my favorite part of the base game, even if they weren't very common along my playthrough. Another small detail to add, even though there isn't much information on it, surprise, is that there will be changes to ship customization and exploration. I'm very interested in seeing what this means for the DLC and if this aspect transfers over to the full game. The tweet from Bethesda ends with mentioning the other factions of the game, hinting that House Va'ruun aren't the only faction vying for control of this newly arisen situation. With the story focusing on the political side of things, it'll be interesting to see how the other factions have a role in what's to come for Va'ruun Kai and possibly the House Va'ruun overall. With the interviews and Gamescom appearance, Bethesda has laid the groundwork for what Shattered Space is, but it leaves many other questions also. What importance will the other factions have on this planet? Is this the only planet in the system, or will there be more to explore? And with the way the recent updates have rolled out, will there be more added for free to the base game, or will this DLC only add for the players that opted in for the extra content? Luckily, we will only have to wait 2 weeks from the time of recording this to find out. From what I can gather and from what others have speculated, Shattered Space seems like a traditional Bethesda update, so hopefully we can expect about 15 to 20 hours of content. There may be some further updating to the base game, but to what extent, no one is really sure. It is obvious that Bethesda has listened to the feedback from players and plans to fully implement certain things in this DLC, like a fully fleshed out area instead of multiple planets to explore. As I've said at the beginning of this video, the addition of detailed maps and the Rev 8 seem to point towards this and feel like stepping stones for what's to come in Shattered Space. I just hope that we see this trend continue and more is added to Starfield as time passes. Not just with DLC, but mainly with incremental updates to the base game. If you'd like more specific details and speculations of what's to come, I'll leave some other videos in the description and also recommend checking out some of the articles that came from the private showings at Gamescom. I, for one, cannot wait to jump into the craziness that is the House Va'ruun head on. I feel like the faction and Starfield universe had a lot of potential for weird, otherworldly experiences, but it fell short, and Shattered Space has the opportunity to make good on that. What do you think about Starfield and Shattered Space? Do you plan on jumping back in, or are you already preparing? I'll be live streaming my gameplay both here and on Twitch, so be sure to subscribe or follow us on Twitch for more news on the future of Starfield. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you can join in on our journey through the stars.